Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Products. My name is Adrian and today we're going to look at this HYW3000P2 petrol pressure washer. So I'm going to open the box, lay the contents out on the table so you can see exactly what you get. Okay, so I've laid everything out on the table. First of all, we have the main pump unit itself. So moving forward, we have the two-piece lance here, the various tips and connectors that are needed. We have the pressure hose, the upper part of the frame. We have a little manual here with some warranty information and a spark plug spanner. This unit does actually come with a quick start guide, which pretty much mirrors what I'm going to be saying to you in a later video. And here we have the user manual. Now I do recommend that you read the user manual thoroughly before use. So let's start by assembling the two halves of the frame together. So I've got the upper handle here, and it's going to go in this orientation. So it's like an S shape. Okay, first thing we're going to need to do is to remove the little knobs and bolts out of the frame to allow the two halves to slide together. So I'll just do that first. Oops-a-daisy. Undo that one. And I'll just set those to one side temporarily. So, quite simple this. I'll just line up the two ends of the two tubes and slide that straight on there like that. So I'm going to fit a bolt in now. It may be easier for you to see it on this side. You'll see the hexagon shape. So if I fit the bolt through the two holes, and I just want to rotate that hexagon so the bolt sits in that hexagon, and that'll hold the bolt on the inside. So I'll do the same on this side, and then simply refit the little hand wheel. Obviously, being able to remove this top frame will make it much smaller for storage when you're not using it, if you're putting it in a vehicle or something like that. So just make sure that bolt's in the hexagon, which it is. Tighten up the thumb wheels. And there we are, that's the two halves of the frame connected. Okay, so I've opened the little bag here with various fittings. I'll just put that connector, we'll come back to that. So we've got the four various tips. And they range from a 0-degree tip, I believe, to that yellow would be a 15, and 40-degree for the white. So when you're using the pressure washer, the white one would be the widest fan, and the red one would be a direct jet. So that's the four tips, and they can be stored quite nicely up in the top here. And just one other thing of note, the black one here is the low pressure tip. So this basically has got a much larger hole in it, and it's the one you would use if you were using the detergent. So the detergent that goes in the soap tank. Detergent won't flow through the machine unless you're using the black tip. Okay, so that's a little tip for you. So I'll put that in its safety holder as well. So the little connector we mentioned earlier on, this brass fitting, is for your quick release hose pipe connection. So we'll simply offer it up and rotate it into there. And then once it's tight to, I'll just tighten up that black knob just to make sure that connection's tight and we don't get any water leaks. Okay, so that would be a quick release connection for water into the pump. And as you can see, that's the lower one of the two connectors. So the next thing to connect would be the delivery pipe. So as you can see, they're the same both ends, doesn't matter which end you use. So what we do, we'll push that in there first, and then simply do up the collar on the outside. Okay, these are standard right-hand threads, these. So I'll just tighten up that pipe. Okay, that's how we connect that end. So to connect the lance, exactly the same procedure. Push it in and do up the little hand wheel. And obviously these are quite quick and easy to disassemble and assemble when transporting the unit. Two halves of the lance, same procedure. Push the two halves together, screw the nut on again, and that will tighten the two halves of the lance together. Just get it all the way on. Okay, and that's the two halves of the lance assembled. So the final part of the assembly we'd need to do before we use it is to fit a tip. So I've just picked the white one here randomly. It's got a little spring-loaded collar here. Pull the collar back, insert the tip, and release. Okay, never change the tips with the machine running. Should you inadvertently pull the trigger, there's a danger that you could inject yourself with water. So always stop the engine, release the pressure from the system, and then change tips if you want to change tips in use. And to remove them, pull the collar back and remove the tip. So just to show you a little bit about the storage, the hose can be stored there on this convenient bracket, and the lance doesn't need to be taken apart every time. The lance can be stored there during transport as well. Okay, so very important, this machine is shipped to you with no engine oil in the engine. So we remove the dipstick here, anti-clockwise, take it completely out, and we would need to fill this with engine oil to the point where the oil level comes up to the weir point of this hole. So to a point where if you put any more in, it would start to flow back out again, but just below that point, so that when it sits on nice level ground, engine oil doesn't flow back out again, but you couldn't get any more in. So that's the correct level for engine oil. Of course, when you filled it up, just making sure not to cross thread it, we can screw that plug back in. Okay, make sure it's tightened down firmly. Now you'll see another plug identical to this on the other side of the engine. They both do exactly the same thing. So if you filled it from one side, you can ignore the other side, but just make sure the other one on the other side is tight so that it doesn't come loose. Okay, so fuel filler cap is the next thing. We can remove it anti-clockwise. Now you will see down inside, it does have a strainer. Now I recommend you leave this in during use. And certainly when you're filling it with fuel, that will take out any debris that might accumulate in the fuel cans or what have you that you have. So fill it up with fresh unleaded fuel, no additives, nothing like that. Fresh unleaded fuel, either E5 or E10, and leave the fuel level about 25 millimeters below the top surface here. Obviously do this in a well ventilated area. We just refit that cap, and if you do spill any fuel, make sure you clear it up before you start the engine. And another little safety note, always stop the engine and allow it to cool down so the exhaust is cold before refueling your machine. Well, here we are. That's how to set up your HYW3000P2 petrol pressure washer ready for use. Well, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.hyundaipowerproducts.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.